The FBI made fundamental errors in its sexual abuse investigation of former USA Gymnastics doctor Larry Nassar. Now, that's according to a government watchdog report. The Justice Department's Inspector General accuses the FBI of failing to respond to Nassar's allegations with the utmost urgency that they deserved. The report also says about 70 or more young athletes were allegedly sexually abused by Nassar after the Bureau first learned about the accusations, but before his arrest more than a year later.
Now, Nassar is serving what amounts to a life sentence after pleading guilty to multiple charges. Hundreds of girls and young women say he sexually abused them under the premise of medical treatments. One of his accusers, former Team USA gymnast, that's Jessica Howard, described her ordeal to Dr. John LaPook in a 60 Minutes report back in 2017.
I remember thinking something was off, but I didn't feel like I was able to say anything because he was, this very high-profile doctor, and I was very lucky to be at the ranch working with him.
Did any of the other girls in your cabin talk to you about Dr. Nassar?
Yes. The girls would say, yeah, he touches you funny.
Howard also testified to Congress about the abuse and was one of more than 200 women who gave impact statements at Nassar's trial. Jessica Howard is with us now only on CBS This Morning. Good morning to you, Jessica. It's good to see you again. To say I walked right past you because I remember you as a brunette, but we're really glad that you're here. I can only imagine what this FBI report has done to you or how it's made you feel. Has it been triggering in any way for you?
It has, but in a slightly different way than the triggers began at the beginning of this process. It used to be fiery and outrage and like, how can this happen? And now, I don't know. I guess I've come to expect that nothing will be done. But again, you're talking about the FBI.
Yeah.
The FBI is one of the most trusted institutions in our country. So reading this list of horrible criminal activity that actually has a human cost and resulted in the sexual abuse of more than 70, we think closer to 120 new victims who were as young as 8. So it's not that they just messed up. It's not that they just they fumbled around and messed up. They actually have affected the lives of at least 70 to 120 young girls.
Do you think all along the way so many people messed up in this case? We're going to focus on the FBI today because of the report. But when you look back at the big picture, do you see that it's much bigger than what it appears to be?
It's astounding how massive it is. And again, unfortunately, maybe I'm cynical. Maybe I've just been through too much at this point to make excuses for anyone. But it is not people messing up. It's people turning away.
Yeah.
It's people not paying attention. It's people deciding not to act. And that, to me, is the most heinous way you can treat a child.
Yeah. So when you read the entire report.
Yes, I skimmed some parts, but yes.
Yeah, I can't imagine what that was like for you. The recommendations out of this are new policies and training for the FBI. What do you make of that?
Again, throughout this process, there's been revelations regularly since 2017 that go back to 2015, and each and every single time there is some sort of proof and facts that point out that this has happened, and this is the way it happened, and it was a failure.
Yeah.
But at the very end, like you get to page 104 of the report, and after reading all about all of this criminal activity, they just say, well, we're going to try to do better in the future. And that is not good enough anymore.
Jessica, do you want criminal charges brought against agents?
Absolutely. I want Congress to get involved. I want the DOJ to get involved. I want a special prosecutor. I want agents who were maybe not even mentioned in the report, but you cannot tell me that in USA Gymnastics, in the US Olympic Committee, and in the FBI, that it was only these 1 or 2 bad players. That's what they've said about Larry. Absolutely not true. He's the only one in prison.
Yeah, and what are your thoughts about Larry? I'm curious because when I learned that he was married and had daughters, I was so surprised by that. I don't know why, but I thought he had little girls himself.
You know, I'm not sure of the details of what went down in Larry's family. There's been talk, but I don't pay attention to it, and I didn't know.
So you
he had a
weren't aware
family.
that he had a family when this
Not
was
at
going
all.
on? He is now saying that he was unfairly punished by the judge who sentenced him. He's now seeking a new judge in sentencing hearing. What do you think when you hear he feels he's been unfairly punished?
I mean, I've tried to see it from other points of view. I really have, when other people come up with these arguments and say these things about how they've been mistreated. But the actual truth is they have caused so much damage and mistreated so many people and are just narcissistic criminals, maybe psychopaths, and they will never think they were wrong.
What are your thoughts about the Olympics next week? And you know many of these young women who are going to be competing. What are your thoughts about them as we get ready to celebrate?
You know, I just hope that in the middle of all the glory and all the amazing accomplishments and all of the amazing performances you're going to see that these people have been working towards for so many decades of their existence, that should be celebrated and they should be uplifted. But we cannot forget that to get to that point, so many of them, especially in gymnastics, have suffered severe psychological, emotional, and sexual abuse at the hands of these people. And it wasn't stopped at one point. It was covered up and lied about, and to the FBI.
It's just hard to hear you even say this today when you say that they've been suffered from psychological abuse. You have too.
Yeah.
And how are you getting through, Jessica? I was really worried about you when you were sitting back there.
Well, like as I mentioned, when this started coming out and before the first time I got to visit you here, I wouldn't even let people, my family, take pictures of me. I was not well. I was not well, and this began to grate more and more and more on my ability to handle and deal, and the PTSD was severe. And the side effects of PTSD and sexual trauma are real. And it's taken me about 4 years to know within myself that I'm going to be okay. I can't control what Congress is going to do or what the president can do or what any of these institutions can do. I don't trust them and I don't believe in them, but I do believe that I am doing what I can to help protect future generations of athletes.
And you are. Thank you so much, Jessica, for your courage, for sharing your voice. People are watching, and that can affect the actions they take. So thank you so much for joining us.
Well, we're going to keep on keeping on. This is not over.
Thank you so much, Jessica Howard.